వెల్కమ్ బ్యాక్. దావోస్లో జరుగుతున్న వరల్డ్ ఎకనామిక్ ఫోరంలో సీఎం జగన్ మాట్లాడుతున్నారు. ఇప్పుడు లైవ్ చూద్దాం.
We have people on the ground in more than 100 countries, and we are selling drugs into 200 countries. It's very good to see the development in many countries, India, China, etc., where reasonable healthcare programs are being put in place, and mainly as a government effort. How to best combine those between private and government efforts, I think, is up to each individual country. Depends a little on how it's going. But it's beginning, to your point there on human rights, I think it's beginning to be recognized in many countries that this is indeed something that we need to do and often needs government support. From an industry point of view, what we can do and will be doing is of course to be able to scale medicines. I think to your point on children here, there are beginning to be regulatory opportunities, even though markets might be small, to be able to get good IP protection, etc. All of those are important elements, I think, of doing what you're doing. But it's encouraging to see the number of countries and large countries that are beginning to go down the road of reasonable healthcare.
Okay.
As she rightly pointed out, this is a major concern. In fact, to address this, the country as such had, under the leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister, had launched a program by name Ayushman Bharat. It's a more or less a combination of, it's more like an insurance part where the state governments are also involved in settling the claims. The funds come from central government, but it deals with 1,000 procedures or so. That is not sufficient, it's inadequate. So in the state of Andhra Pradesh, we have widened that scope, and we have come up with our own insurance scheme. It's called YSR Arogyashri scheme. I named it after my father because that's the kind of priority that I give to that scheme. So I just want it to be remembered, and I want to do a good job out of it. So what we have done is we've scaled the number of procedures to 2,446. From 1,000 what the central government supports, we had increased that to 2,446 procedures. And practically we have distributed cards to 1.44 crore houses. And we've increased the limit for the eligibility of this card to income limit of 5 lakhs per annum. So anybody whose income is less than 5 lakhs per annum is eligible for this card. And 1.44 crores out of the total households of approximately 1.5 to 1.53 crores cards that households that we have, 1.44 crore cards are covered under this scheme. Okay. And the last 3 years, we've helped almost 25 lakh people get treatment free of cost here.
We have about 10 minutes. We're going to fly through a few more questions briefly from the audience. The Executive Director of UNAIDS is in the audience with us, Winnie Byanyima. I think she would like to ask a question. If we can get a mic to her at the back there with the black head wrap and the red top.
Thank you, Zinga. Thank you, moderator. Okay. And thank you, panel. Mine's not a question, it's a comment. And responding to the subject you're talking about, I don't think that we're going to be on track to resolve a health crisis that turned into an economic crisis without tackling the inequalities that drive them. We are not health security strategies that neglect some people and protect a few privileged won't protect anyone ultimately. What do we need? We need debt cancellation, and we need to drive special drawing rights of the IMF towards developing countries so that they can have the resources to invest in health, in education, to end pandemics, COVID and other pandemics. We need, let me put it this way, debt debt repayments for the low-income countries in the middle of this crisis, where several times over they are spent on health, 9 times for Africa, 9 times more to debt repayments than to investing in health. This can't be a solution. So we do need to get rules of finance, rules of trade, and rules of tax, global rules, to work for developing countries if we are going to come out of a health crisis and an economic crisis. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. I saw there was a hand here, and then there was also a hand there. So if we can get mics to both of the participants so we can do rapid-fire questions. We have about 6 minutes left for questions from the audience.
Thank you very much. My name is Sheila Patel. I represent Shack Dwellers International, which works with urban slum dwellers in 33 countries. I want to give you a message from poor women in urban areas, but I have many friends in rural areas too. We know that real health delivery, sir, is at subnational level. And I want to know whether all of you see value in leapfrogging into involving your populations in promotive health. You know, it's taken us so long to acknowledge that preventive health is important. But in today's world, where along with pandemics and debt and disease, we're also dealing with climate change. And as many people as you said were affected by famines are being affected with poisonous fast food and are facing chronic diseases at a level with which people in India and China, we know with studies, there's a huge volume of people at very young ages getting chronic diseases like diabetes, blood pressure, and even children diabetes because they're eating white carbohydrates and fried food, which are poisonous.
Thank you.
So I'm saying it's much larger than just doing specific things. And economics of that have to come into the discussion about insurance because curative insurance is not enough.
Catherine, would you like to respond to that, or was there anyone in the panel who would like to respond to that?
Well, the only point I would make about that is that I think I agree and with everyone here who talks about the importance of primary health care, and I think it's really important, but I do think that nutrition is another critical piece of this. And what we see in so many parts of the world is that children don't get proper nutrition and end up stunted. And once a child is stunted, they can never catch up, ever. So that